Karen Astley attending in some way. I sent her the agenda again, and with the link, and we corresponded today. So I'm not sure if she's coming by Zoom or not.
Well, we can plug her in whenever she gets here.
Right.
So she doesn't have to listen.
I told her that she's kind of right after our early stuff.
All right, I'd like to have us meeting recorded. And we are being recorded. Before I begin, I was going to say welcome to guests, but right now we just have one. It's me, Nancy Hood, who's been nominated to fill the vacancy for. So a little bit later on, I'll get a chance to talk to her, ask some questions. I gave you the bio that you submitted a while back. Does anyone want to add or leave anything from the agenda?
I do. I also just want to mention, I sent around a copy of the Reformer that the library birthday party is on the front page of today. 23 days after the library birthday party. I did want to add under new business fundraising and development committee. And I also wanted to mention something about music and movement for the next under new business.
I'm pretty sure they'll have to go home after an hour because my kids are home by themselves. So
Okay.
my husband's having somebody move tonight.
All right, will you have a forum?
Yeah. I mean, yes, you will.
Yeah, we're good. Secretary's report?
I did not print out the minutes,
Oh.
but I hope you guys all read them when Trish sent them out.
Perfect.
Let's go.
Thank you. We changes are also speaking. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
It's accepted. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Commissioners report?
I have nothing in particular to report from the budget status. We're still those same sort of unusual lines for the 7,600, but that's for the staff. And training and travel is high, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Lottie, director's report?
Director's report. We'll talk about the birthday party later, but I can't believe that it seems like it was so long ago, but it was so fun. As part of my duties for being on the Catamount Library Network board, I am assisting Lydia Taft Pratt Library in Dummerston to migrate their integrated library system onto Catamount, which is what the Putney School and Putney Public Library are both on, along with 20 plus other libraries. So it's great to get more local libraries on board. Westminster West Library joined last year, and I'm hoping that Rockingham Library eventually joins. I think that Westminster Butterfield Institute is also going to join. So
really?
We're getting more and more folks in this area on board, which is great. And we have the shared catalog and resource sharing, which gives our patrons and also the patrons in those libraries access to way more than they'd already have. So it's a big boon for a library like Lydia Taft Pratt, which is really tiny. Thank you guys all so much for voting for the money around the holidays for the staff to go out and celebrate. We usually try to do it around Chinese New Year when the stress of holidays we celebrate more actively are over. So we got to do that on last Thursday and it was great. So they send it. Yeah, we went to Wonder Bar. Thank you all. They send their thanks.
A pleasure.
I have started my nonprofit fundraising and development class, and it's super practical and really good. And there's a lot of homework. It's really good, though. It's really inspiring. Here's a list of our weather closures thus far since last meeting. Well, we closed for the full day on Thursday, February 6th, and then on the Thursday following, we opened at 2 p.m. and that went pretty well. We've had a number of successful programs. Kevin hosted William Homestead's reading and discussion on last Tuesday. And Stuffed Animal Sleepover and Sticker Palooza were big hits over the last couple of weeks. Coming up, we have Putney Palette tomorrow night. It's a third third workshop where we're making the watercolor paints out of things found in Putney. And we are reprising I Draw You, You Draw Me. Bob Etzweiler, who Amber introduced us to, is coming back. This is in partnership with the Conservation Commission to do a getting to know your wild neighbors talk, which will be really fun. Char Denord is coming to do a poetry reading the next night. And then we have 3 different programs related to the Vermont Reads Choice Book Gather, which everybody can get a copy of if they want it. I love Vermont Humanities Council. I think they do an incredible job with Vermont Reads, but sometimes they really pick a zinger of a book, and this is one of them. It's so good. It's so good. It's written for a young adult audience, but there's a lot of really timely themes. And anybody can appreciate and enjoy it.
The voice of the narrator is great.
Yeah, no, it's really wonderful.
Excited. I just picked up my copy last week.
Yeah, we have a lot of copies. You guys could pick one up tonight. Finances, grants, and fundraising. The gift a book donation that we did at the birthday party was great. So far we raised $850 and we only spent $650 on gift books. And there's a lot of books left, including some late editions that were super back ordered. They're on the coffee table behind us, should you want to peruse. Some of the adult books that I ordered were mega back ordered. I shared with you guys the troubles at Ingram, and I think they really impacted those because they took months to get. But now we have some other great, beautiful books that people might want to place in honor or memory of somebody. I promised a fundraising summary. Right now we don't. You guys have diversified your fundraising faster than we have detail lines to catch up with it with town hall. So we've raised, and you guys have raised $29,435.81. And that's between gift books, the appeal is most of it, tote bags, chapbooks, everything since July 1st. So I'd like to tease that apart a little bit more so you can tell how much you're making in tote bags and how much you're making on the appeal, and how much was gift books. But we kind of know those numbers broadly, but you've almost hit $30,000, which is really great. I already told you about my fundraising class. I guess I put that in there twice. And we've received almost all regular fuel allocation. That's Karen Hesley. So we've used our fuel allocation for the year, but we've turned down temperatures for both day and night, and the staff are leaning hard into the space heater under the desk. Yeah. And my library fact for trustees is about how many adults are participating in kids programs, and that we've taken note of this trend for future offerings.
The book was
25%.
Did you bring your stuffed animal? No, you
I saw the book. Julia puts together a video kind of what everything was going on during the stuff. Sleepover.
The antics.
Yeah.
So well done.
There's mega antics.
Yeah.
So that's everything. Does anyone have any questions for me about the director's report or something I missed?
Do people have to pay to be in Catamount?
Yes. Yeah, we all do have to pay. Catamount is the open source software called Koha, but then we pay to have a user interface that's a lot nicer called Aspen. We also pay to have Bywater Solutions host all of the data and also create patches specifically for us and deal with any tech issues we have. That said, it's way more reasonable than paying for commercial software. So, and everyone banding together makes it cheaper for everybody.
Way more reasonable.
Yeah, way more reasonable because you guys were paying for. Yeah. Oh, Karen disappeared.
She went away. I was just gonna say, hey, she's perfectly on time.
I know. Oh, wait, there's a chat. Oh, here she is again. Let's see.
Oh, her sound.
Oh, yeah, she said her sound was bad.
Welcome, Karen.
Hey, Karen. It looks like she's still connecting. Hey, Karen, can you hear us? Maybe we should keep making noise just so she knows whether she can hear us or not. Talk about something. Well, wait. Do you want to go on to that before Karen comes in, or do we want to?
I said we should keep making noise.
There's Karen. Hey.
Sorry, folks, I was having technical difficulty. Second time today.
Well,
Only
you're
the
right on
second,
time
that's
according to our agenda.
Let me see. Are you adjusting the agenda?
No, we put you in
You're in,
under the library director's report, and
you're
that's our
number
new
6.
business before we do our.
Okay, all right.
We are.
Yeah, that's kind of why I ran home. I'm like, I didn't know how long I would be there.
Yes,
So-
yeah, so we're ready for you, Karen.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Okay,
I don't have the agenda in front of me. I'm sorry. So you're
Okay.
waiting on me. So we're talking about the article, right?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I have it here. Do you
Well-
need me to read it?
Why don't we just tell everyone what it is?
Okay.
And
Karen should tell it.
yeah, Karen, do you just want to tell, you're just like, there's an article about the library on
Yes.
the town meeting warning.
Warning.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So Article 10. So the library has approximately $25,145 in a fund balance. Okay. That money, the article reads that the unrestricted fund balance is to be moved to the library reserve fund for capital improvements. Now, the library has a fund balance, the general fund has a fund balance, and the highway budget also has a fund balance. That fund balance is from money not spent in the budget and technically belongs to the taxpayers, okay? So having that money sit there and just accumulate and not putting it into a restricted fund means it can be either spent on anything, or what would happen is like the taxpayers will question why that money's not going to offset taxes. So to put the money in a restricted fund kind of protects it for the library to do like capital improvements, whether it's carpet, whether it's mini splits, whatever, it stays with the library. So I probably should have talked to the board before I wrote that article, but in the warning also is the general fund, approximately $438,000, which we're going to try to move into a restricted fund in case of an emergency. So that's why the article is on the warning. Now, the money could have just sat there, but at some point someone would question it. And I will let the board know that one of the select board members is going to be looking at each fund that is set up through the town. And they are looking for a policy on how the money is supposed to be used. And this is a way to protect it. And I know the library is a little different. It's a different relationship, from the town to the library, because the library gets an appropriation and then it's set into the general fund. So I don't want to try to explain that at town meeting because it's going to be complicated. And I just,
Also the money that we raise, as well.
well, your money that you raise
Separate.
Yeah.
is in a totally separate account.
Yeah.
But that could get brought up, Janice,
Yeah.
because it is sitting in a fund. So I'm bringing this to your attention too, because I don't know what's going to happen in a year. Well, I don't even know what's going to happen after March 4th, because we will have a different board. And, I don't know who's going to be the chair of the board. I'll find out on the 5th. But, I think having open communication And, when it comes to money, people can, you know,
Is there any precedent for returning money to the taxpayers? I mean, the 25,000 doesn't really make any significant difference, but the 438,000 would.
yeah, so every penny on the tax rate equates to about 37,000, like $800, okay? So you're right, it's not quite a penny, Janice,
Mm.
but 438,000 is, quite a bit. Um,
So Karen, could I just ask, and I should know this, but I don't. This is not the first time that there have been budget surpluses essentially, right? At the end of a year. What's happened in the past? How is this going to be different from what's happened in the past?
well, Jim, so when I came on board, um, there was $66,000 in the general fund surplus. And over the last 7 years, it's been built up to $557,000.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, what happens with that surplus? So it's money that's not spent in a budget, or it's revenue that's come in that was unexpected, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I can talk about the general fund because I see it every day. So the extra revenue that came in for that fund was bank interest. So when M&T changed from Peoples, the town ends up with about anywhere between $6,000 to $8,000 a month in interest because of the sweep account, how
Hmm.
much money is in it, right? And then the state education tax, the state gives us the tax rate, but it always ends up being higher. So there's money that's always left over. And, so over several years, it's just built up.
It's composed of money coming into the town to the highway, or it's surplus funds for the town, for the highway, and for the library. And then,
So highway is a separate budget. And then there's the general fund, which is the main budget,
right.
which your library appropriation is embedded into our general fund.
So you gave a figure that was something like $25,000.
Yes,
Is that all from this past year, or is that a cumulative thing as you were describing the general fund one? It's cumulative.
yes,
So they
yes.
weren't commingled. They were
No,
kept. I get it. Okay.
nope, not commingled. This is money that was building up in the library fund, which is unrestricted. And when you have unrestricted funds, um, you pretty much can spend it on just about anything. But you got to be careful because you have to remember that it's still the taxpayers' money. So my dog's next to me, itching her ear, and she's like making noise.
So I don't have the town report with the warrant, but
Yep.
as it's written, does it indicate that it's to be used for capital purposes?
Says capital improvements. So I can read
But
it. It's really short.
okay.
Shall the voters of the town of Putney authorize the transfer of $25,145 from the fiscal year 2024 library unrestricted fund balance to the library reserve fund for capital improvements?
So I guess my question is, if it's unrestricted, it seems to have had a restriction that warrant article seems to place a restriction on it for that is to be used for capital improvements.
Right. And that could
but
be,
it is unrestricted. So that seems to me to be a internal contradiction there.
um,
Well, it
well,
wouldn't be under.
it's going into the library reserve fund,
Yeah.
which is a restricted fund. So,
But here again, I just don't know. Kevin, I'm sure knows. It's a restricted fund, and one of the restrictions is it's to be used for capital improvements.
yes.
Is that your understanding, Kevin?
Yeah, that's how I'm hearing it. Yeah. That's my understanding in the past too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then it's not changing anything.
No, no, because back in 2001, um, there was a special town meeting on October 16, 2001. A reserve, a library reserve fund was created. It was Article 1. Um, and then it says it was for the purpose of keeping funds to be expended for designing, determining feasibility, and constructing a new building for the public library.
Yeah.
And then there's other articles too. You created the building committee, and you authorized the select board, which, yeah, I don't know, it's strange because the library didn't really become a public library until 2014, I
Yeah.
believe it was.
Right.
So,
So, so let's say this article is passed.
yes,
Will there then be an additional fund in the library's portfolio, if you will? Or is this going to just get added to an existing fund?
no, this is going to be a separate fund,
Uh-huh.
be strictly for the library. Um,
Right, but again, I'm bumping up against the restriction on it. And I asked Kevin a minute ago about whether the funds that the library already has are restricted to capital improvements. And I think I understand Kevin to say yes, but it doesn't sound, this sounds like this is going to be a separate freestanding thing if it's passed
so,
within the purview of the library.
There's no, Jim, there's no restriction in terms of uh use on other funds that the library board is in charge of. And when I say that, I mean your fundraising and the
Right.
endowment. Those are not restricted in that way.
Right.
I think they're restricted in terms of about how decisions are made about them, but I'm not aware of anything else that is a restricted fund. So I think this is kind of about redefining something that's presently unrestricted and doesn't have a policy around it,
right,
or does have a policy that doesn't restrict it, and just classifying it as restricted for capital improvements for the library. And that's just about money that's left over in the operating budget and has nothing to do with fundraising.
right. They're separate.
Yeah.
This is just, again, I don't fully understand this, but it seems to me that the decision about how those surplus funds, what they should be able to be used for, would be a decision that the library board would make rather
Yes.
than, okay, so why would this not be? I realize the warrant doesn't say this at this point, but why would this article include that restriction?
If we haven't voted on it.
Right.
Maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, Karen, but I thought the intent was when it's unrestricted in the way it is presently, it's almost like any department could be allocated somewhere else. But when
somewhere else in the town.
Right.
within the town, but if we restrict it, the way to keep it for the library is to
Mhm.
restrict it in that it has to do with the building.
Mhm.
Am I right, Karen? That was my understanding.
Right, so capital improvements, it's for whatever you need for that building.
Right.
Okay.
I understand that would be a way to restrict this, but I mean, I'm not sure, can't speak for the board, obviously. I'm not sure the library wants to have that restriction on it. Maybe the library would want to spend it for something other than capital improvements. Is there something in statutes or regulations or the way things have worked in the past which suggests that this needs to be directed at capital improvements, or whether it can just be something that's it's additional funds for the library to use at its discretion?
Um,
Restricted to the library, but not restricted to a particular use by the library.
no, I see what you're saying. Um, and I know we have a memorandum and because it's a public library,
Mhm.
um, doing, having it for capital improvements, because we know how much they all cost. And you're right, Jim. I mean, I suppose you could use it for anything. And this language probably limits it just to
Right.
capital improvements. Um, so I'm sure there can be a friendly amendment on the floor. I just want to caution the board that sometimes when you start doing friendly amendments, it can get out of hand. Um,
Yes,
what I'm trying to do is protect this $25,000.
that's
And
great. I
maybe,
appreciate it. Yeah.
and this should have probably been a conversation before the board, before I wrote that article. Um,
And it's
but
something that the three of us talked about it
we've talked
last
about it in,
summer.
yeah, we've talked about it in previous years when we've made the transfers. And certainly
right.
in this moment, we certainly have capital improvements we need to do. Is it everyone's understanding that if we have additional surplus at the end of fiscal years, that it automatically just gets transferred into this account, or do we need to, does it get voted on each time?
Um, well, see, here's the thing. So technically, and we should look at this as a group. So technically, any surplus belongs to the taxpayers,
Mhm.
right? So, and fund balances will need to be voted on by the taxpayers.
Every
Where do you
time,
want to put that?
each
Um,
time?
Every
um,
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
so, yes. And
So,
I think too, this is the first time, folks, that we're moving fund balances because they're high, okay? Like the general fund,
right.
$550,000 is a lot of money.
Yes.
So either you put it into a reserve or you give it back. And we are able to do that this year. $119,000 of fund balance surplus is going to offset taxes to be raised in the general fund. We had a bad year. We had a reappraisal. People are still trying to recover from that. We needed to do something. And budgets were level funded, general fund and the highway. But in order to do that, I had to trim $155,000 out of the general fund budget. So I'm trying to take your little pot of money and keep it with the library is what I'm trying to do.
No, that's great. That makes sense.
You know, and we do have an attorney on the board, and maybe it's a question, is it necessary? But like I said, I know what you're trying to do at the library for capital improvements. And we can change the language if we need to amend, the article to have it, at your discretion. You can, you know,
Well, we haven't talked, I'm just bringing this up now
yeah,
because as a result of your presentation, I haven't talked to anybody else on the board about this. We haven't talked about it at a
yeah,
meeting. Maybe nobody else on the board thinks this is an issue at all. So, that would be the easiest way to resolve this is to say
yeah,
it's just fine the way it is, and that may well be what the rest of the board
right.
thinks.
Right,
How do we
It's been
access?
useful to me to understand sort of the context and the background.
right, in the process, yeah. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing it, Jim.
Yeah.
And the lack of written policies on how to set these up and what they're to be spent on. I mean, it's specific.
Mhm.
I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't even know you had a library reserve fund. I just happened to have found the information and someone questioned me and then they're like, does the library have a reserve fund? And I'm like, yeah, there was like a whole meeting about it. I'm like, but we didn't get our new system until 2005,
Hmm.
our accounting system. So we don't even show that you actually had a reserve fund. I'm like,
Because it was created during a time before the electronic system that you record everything in
yes,
was done, and it was never added to the system.
right. And I just got lucky and found the minutes from the 2001 meeting, and I'm like, well, there is a library reserve fund. So,
How do we access that? I mean, if, for example, we don't get a grant to replace, give us mini splits. Do we access that money to pay to them, or does
Well,
that come out of some other part of the town budget?
capital improvements and bids and everything are done in partnership with the town, like when we did the painting. So I think that the conversation it's not like the library board wouldn't be deciding that without the partnership of the town manager and the select board.
right,
Good.
So I think that it's natural that it would be decided together.
right. And I pretty much have Emily's list and I'm just hoping that grant comes through, Emily.
Yeah, well, it's federal, so I don't know. They've taken down
Uh,
the page about it. I don't want to talk about it.
It's okay.
I'm
They changed their minds, so it's
okay.
okay. I'm still optimistic about money, okay?
I'm going to talk about it later in the meeting. I'm not shutting down talk about it, but
All right,
Can I just
I'm excited that this money exists specifically for the reason of mini splits and the potential instability of the federal funding that I thought that we would qualify for.
right.
Can I just ask, and I don't want to belabor this, but just so I understand. So this $25,000 roughly would be based on the warrant put into a special fund for the library. Were you just saying, Karen, that that fund already exists? And
Yeah,
Kevin, that is that the fund that has all the extra money from the original building project?
No,
No.
no,
Okay,
that's our investment.
right.
right.
That's the
So,
Commonwealth.
so that this fund exists already, but with a zero balance, or is
Yeah, it
that
must. I
huh,
mean, it doesn't close out,
okay?
because you have to vote to actually create reserve funds.
Okay,
And the fact that this was done in 2001 actually is a good thing.
yeah.
And yeah,
So it's just a drawer in the bank, sort of. It's empty at this point.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right, that's helpful. Thank you.
yep. So we can build this up too, depending on, like I said, it's like if you end up with more revenue, you end up with a sizable, you know, fund balance at the end of the year, and you say, hey, no, we should put this over here, we keep building this up. And then we'll change the language to folks, if you feel like you want to just be able to spend it at your discretion, we'll have to change it next year, or maybe let me find out if there can be a friendly amendment on the floor.
Well, Karen, before you go to any trouble, I think the board should talk about whether we want to even consider doing that. It may be that I'm the only person who's thinking about this way, and
Mhm.
I don't want you to go to the trouble of
Okay,
trying to do additional stuff if we're just
right,
fine with the way it is.
yeah.
I
And
do, it's a reasonable question, Jim, and I think we have plenty of capital projects that we can do.
Sure.
For expediency's sake, it may make sense just to
Yep.
the,
And if it needs to be voted on each year, there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the future when all the capital improvements are done and the library's in perfect shape to potentially change the intent of the fund and the restriction.
right. Yeah, it's kind of a building block.
I am, I have a couple questions, and I want to start just by saying back in my layman's terms, what I think is going on here, just so that I make sure I understand. So fiscal year 2024, the library ended up with a $25,000 approximate surplus.
It's cumulative, and I think it really was during COVID when I was the only employee and we were closed so much, like
see.
we weren't
Right.
incurring expenses. So I think it was a few COVID fiscal years. It was not last year.
Okay, so there is an accumulation of $25,000 from multiple years,
Yes,
right? And then Karen, you found evidence of this reserve fund that was voted on some years ago, and you wrote the warrant to place this $25,000 that will be presented at town meeting. And you had said that ostensibly this reserve fund has a balance of zero. Do we
yes.
know that for sure? Is it possible that there is actually hidden money there that just because, you know, if it didn't make it in the system over, is it possible that it's there?
Well, I think Kevin said it, right? Kevin, didn't you say all that money ended up in your investment account?
the money from the construction of the building
Right,
is the principal for our investments with Park Place.
yep.
My
So
guess, my guess, just having read more about the building of the library recently, Janice, and being informed by Janice, is that the town put some money towards the feasibility study and the development, and it was probably the reserve fund was probably created for that and to contain the money from the sale of the old library building, which was
Gotcha.
eventually transferred,
Right.
you know, towards construction costs for this building. So my guess is like they just needed to be someplace to put it. If that helps. That's just a guess.
Yeah. And it sounds to me also like if the warrant moves ahead this year with the language that you proposed, that it doesn't preclude us from changing the language in subsequent years if we
Right.
were part of the process of writing the warrant.
Right. Yes.
I'm just trying to anticipate what might happen. Do you, have any recommendations for how we might have to defend this? Or would that be your, purview?
I don't think we're gonna have to defend it
I think it was
very
written
much.
in
It's-
such a way by Karen specifically to because it's a naturally good idea
Right,
that everyone will agree with.
yeah. You're gonna find too in the town report for the warning. This isn't the only reserve fund, you know, and if you read the news, a lot of municipalities right now are creating reserve funds for capital improvements and anything that's gonna cost money and anything that might be grant funded through the feds or the state. So everybody's trying to put their money in a safe place. And because unrestricted funds, you know,
Yep.
if you don't have somebody controlling it and paying attention, you know, it can be spent on anything, and that's not okay because we have to remind ourselves that it's the taxpayers' money. And putting money aside for capital improvements is, you know, it's smart.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that and for taking such good care, having our
Yes.
interests, you
Yeah.
know, at the forefront.
Here,
You're
here.
welcome. You're welcome. I know, you know, I know with the Board of Trustees, you folks, you're doing a really great job and, the audit shows, Jim, this is the other thing too. So in the audit, I can show you folks, I'll send it to, Emily,
Mhm.
but the audit will show you, the balance from year to year. And I may be able to figure out how many years that balance has been sitting here.
I think it's pretty recent because at one point it turned out that the transfer, remember, we kind of squared up because the transfers hadn't been made because there was no town manager or because Chip was the town manager and
Yeah.
many years ago, like in the last.
7 years ago, because I've been town manager.
Wow, okay.
Years, and yeah,
But you discovered it a couple years after that. So we were kind of like, we were like in a negative, we had a negative balance.
you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did,
Because the
Emily.
transfers hadn't been made. And then we kind of squared up on that. So it's been since that. So it's been
Yeah.
since, I don't know, this doesn't really narrow it down, but it's been since Karen was here.
Probably 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
You
something
know,
like that.
but yeah, and there's always people in the community following the money. And they will ask, and I think it's gonna be an interesting town meeting with a lot of questions about money and fund balances.
Yeah. So bring your own chair pad and snacks.
I
Yeah.
know, I know.
Does anyone else have any more questions for Karen?
No, thank you for doing this, Karen.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. It's good to see everybody.
Good to see you
Come
too.
anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, take care. Have a good night.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Week.
Oh, right. Next week.
Okay, all right. Do we want to discuss this further now? Does anybody have anything they want to contribute?
Well, I think I got it clarified, which was helpful for me. I just didn't really understand what the heck was going on here. Now I do, so I think we're fine. It to me it makes sense to have any funds that the library raised or that were due to the library for just general purposes, unrestricted. That $25,000 of leftover was not that money didn't appear in that library's efforts to do capital projects. So to then restrict it in this fund seems a little odd to me. But there's subject to the issue of who pays for what town or library when it comes to capital stuff. It seems like there's enough capital things to certainly pay for $25,000 or more than $25,000 worth. Excuse
Yes.
me.
Worry not.
So I guess I would in the future, and if Karen had brought this up to us before she put it in the warrant, I would have said, let's just leave the restriction off. And I'd be inclined to do that in the future, but I also don't think it's worth making a big deal about.
Right.
I think in this year, she's saying there's this for multiple different
Right.
pots of money. And I think just to get it established, I think it is probably the easiest way to leave it. Plus, I do have designs on that money should that federal grant not appear, which is a real possibility.
Right. Yeah. So I'm fine with not doing anything.
Okay.
Great. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Finance?
Our fund balance is 376,967. And that breaks out, I can hand this to you in a second. To 311,551 and 65,415, which I think represents a high point. We may have been slightly over it in the fall of 2020, going into 2021, but I think this is a high point within $1,000 or so. So good for us.
Thanks.
I'd like to make a change since Jessica has to leave in 15 minutes.
Mhm.
I'd like us to skip institutional plan right now and move to the nominating committee so Nancy has an opportunity to talk about herself and why she wants to be on our board, and we can ask her some questions and then we'll vote later at the end of the meeting.
Well, I wrote up my bio, which is a tell-all, so I don't really have to add to that.
Nancy knows what moves at the library, and it's a tell-all memoir.
So the only factoid I have to add is my daughter's a librarian at SUNY New Paltz. Might be of interest. I think everything else is in my bio, and I'm happy to entertain questions if anyone has any.
Is there something about the library board, a little bit, of it, from tonight and from what we talked about, some area that really interests you, or if you pretty.
Well, I'm not focused on money, that's for sure. So I think you and I had talked
Yeah.
about maybe the bylaws and
Yes.
maybe some help with fundraising.
You said you were really detail oriented and follow through. So bylaws would be thing, policy, definitely on that.
But I'm open to your needs, I don't know the board and don't know where all the needs are, so.
Is there anything that you feel the library's lacking that we should be looking at? As an
I think
outsider?
our library is so amazing. Just the email, I got today from Emily about all the programs and the vibrancy and the physical space, very welcoming. So. Do I have to have something I want?
No.
Say telescope, because we have one. You just can't see it yet.
Do we really?
Yes, it's good. I need to get a carrier for it to circulate. Yeah, but let's not take the focus off me.
The telescope, I don't know where it went, actually, probably to someone else.
Well, actually, we should probably introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
kind of behind that. You know who I am.
Anyway,
We met at the party.
yes.
And she's relatively new to our board. too.
Yes, I think the year.
We met earlier,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Paris, also hailing from Pennsylvania many years ago.
Kevin Champney, and I'm the academic dean and library director at Putney School, tech director as
He's
well.
our treasurer.
Treasurer.
To be on,
That's a nice connection.
Yeah.
Jim Oliver. I'm not Carolyn Oliver, as it says on the. But I'm often known as Carolyn Oliver's husband. Now I'm also known as Anna Oliver's father. So I'm better known in town for those things.
Our kids went to school together.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jane. Pete here?
Pete, yeah,
Yeah, and my daughter's Madeline Beach.
okay. At the Central School?
Yep.
Great. That's
Mhm.
excellent.
Exactly.
So I'm retired.
Me too.
I'm Trish Roberts,
My Trish.
and I'm the board secretary. So I don't do a good job of talking a lot at meetings.
I remember to ask you what you
God bless, that's okay.
He does a really good job with the minutes, though.
I'm trying to improve.
Yes, the chair needs to remember to ask if you have an opinion.
And yeah, I'm currently I do a bunch of theater stuff. Yeah.
It's really cool. You know me, I am the one who was like, got Nancy in my tractor beams and sick the rest of the board up. Because she is a frequent flyer here at the library, and I really love the poems she gives out.
Oh, yes. Oh.
I'm Ben Lord.
Ben.
We just met, what, a week ago?
20th, I think.
Something like that. Science teacher at large and library aficionado.
I'm Jessica Taylor. I'm a local therapist. I have 2 little kids in elementary school.
Mhm.
My son is home writing poems right now.
Oh,
So he's got some poem deadlines.
It's hard.
Almost under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, write it about the wood stove, the dinner. And, nice to meet you.
So now that you've sat through a third of a meeting, do you have any questions about us or how we work?
Just, I'd like a list of everyone.
Yes.
Names and phone numbers and what is ILRP?
Right, so that's the institutional long-range plan.
Okay.
It's right up there.
And I ran off everything that you sent in the email and then was presented
Oh,
with it
no.
here. So is it okay just to?
You can just
read it
show
at
up.
home, but leave it on the
Yeah.
computer because I don't want to waste.
No,
Yeah.
we have wasted a lot of this night.
The first meeting, I was like, oh, it's here.
Right.
And I
So,
also hope we don't get in trouble. I'm a diversity hire.
well, you're not alone.
Just saying.
Here.
Under fire.
We're not that.
Well, the word women's going on too, I
Yeah,
heard, so.
I know, it's
Um,
So
so,
anyway, it's nice to be here and thank you for your welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks
Steve.
for
so we will
considering us.
vote at the end of tonight's meeting. We'll go into executive session and we'll vote and I'll call and let you know,
Okay.
you know. And then at the meeting, at the town meeting next Tuesday, I'll present the 2 people that are renewing, extending their terms and as well for a 3-year term. And then by acclamation, we hope the town will approve that. And then, yeah, then our town meeting in March, we will attend, it'll be a first meeting, but that's the 18th, I think.
Yeah.
Or the 18th, board meeting.
Oh, you mean the board meeting?
Town meeting, sorry.
Board meeting.
And vote.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the institutional long-range plan. I must have really been thinking about this because I have it on here twice there and down below. So since we might as well look at it again, and we need to approve what Penny and Emily presented last time.
I did not include it again.
Yeah.
We did
Didn't, that's right.
it. Sorry.
Okay.
There was one addition and I think Penny's just gonna read it to it or one, yeah.
I mean, it's.
No, guys, I didn't give it to you again. I'm just
Yeah.
it's so much.
It's not even really, it's just,
In-
just the board.
Yeah, it's really just that sentence change.
It originally read.
Was it related to what we talked about at the last meeting? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, so we, I mean, we presented the institutional long-range plan. The only change that Emily wanted was under phase-in and emergency plan. We originally had library director task with board involvement, and Emily wants the board to make a committee.
Or at least like
Or-
one of you
or, right,
to poke me along. It keeps being a thing that doesn't happen because I'm like, oh yes, when I have spare time, I'll take on this massive
I
project.
mean, if I'm already doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes,
I'm a good nag.
yes, great.
That's really what you need.
Yeah, I need an egg.
Yeah, I feel a little like, I feel like we need to get clarity around the recording of committee meetings before we start forming lots of new committees.
I called Vermont League of Cities and Towns today and we can talk about what they told me later.
Okay.
Or I mean, whenever, but I got clarity on
Is
that.
that a new?
It was a fuzzy
It was a fuzzy,
detail in
Oh, right,
a
about
training that
Yeah.
I did.
it's a little less fuzzy, but there's some gray area. We'll talk later, or we'll talk when it comes up.
Maybe it shouldn't be a committee, maybe it should just be me bugging.
Yeah. A working group, something that doesn't warrant
Something that's not.
Right.
taking minutes and
Right.
warning the meetings and welcoming the public, which we do have to do for committee meetings.
Okay.
I had a feeling, I told
know,
you,
I know.
they were very clear.
I know.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the new institutional long-range plan for, what are the dates? 2025 to
26.
It's just a year.
26.
20, yeah, the institutional long-range plan is a one-year thing that we review each year.
Could somebody second that?
I will second.
Are there any other questions? So the other thing that I suggested, you decided isn't a good idea.
We
No.
decided it belongs in the strategic plan.
Great.
It's fundraising.
All right.
Yeah.
related.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion is approved, as is the revised plan. Thanks, Penny, for being on top of this, and Maggie.
We'll come up with a better motivating,
Yeah.
keeping accountable. We'll have a better word. Yeah.
Is the strategic plan the same? as
No,
goal and range?
confusingly enough, and
Oh,
we're talking
yeah.
about them both tonight. Yes.
The institutional long range plan, well,
Do I have a copy of that? I don't think I do.
I
No,
can make you.
I'm sorry. I gave them out last time. I'm
The meeting is
oppressed by,
Only on Friday.
yes,
so-
how many, I'll have a copy of
That
you
didn't
for your
look
binder.
Right, where strategic planning is what to do, or like vision and fundraising and thinking.
That's
And this is like very kind of like
The building and
Okay, thank you. The lighting.
perfect.
Okay. So something else to approve is, I think I did give you all. This tiny change to Emily's job description that I inadvertently left off last time. I have a copy of it. I can read it to you if that's easier. This is just something that I omitted that needs to be added, and that is under her for the tasks, develop a relationship, maintain a relationship with the State Department of Libraries, remain in contact with the Department of Libraries to learn about grants, trainings, policies, resources, and to prepare and submit the department's required annual statistics. I'd like to make a motion that we accept that addition to Emily's revised job description.
This isn't her full, this is just.
We already looked at that last week.
Right.
so Yes.
Yes.
We're adding this to it.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. So on favor? Aye. So Emily has a new job description.
to describe what I already do.
Describes what you do.
I go back to Wonderbar.
And will be active for the next 25 years, which is going to be here.
Oh my God.
And the list will get longer and longer.
Oh, good.
What's exactly doing most likely. Okay, so now the fun part that you've all been dying to talk about the bylaw.
Another approval of things. It's
So,
good.
for some weird reason, I thought that it makes sense that our bylaws were in accordance with the new statute. And it's really just a language changes. There's not really much substantive change at all. So at the last meeting, Ben in particular wanted to see them side by side.
And you
So I've
delivered.
given you two things here. First is our current bylaws. The lettering in red is what's being changed. The lettering in blue are the words that are coming out. Following that is the actual Vermont state statute that we're referring to. And if you don't want to do all that, there's a little chart that tells you what the changes are. So I wanted to try to.
I do love a chart.
Everybody's needs here. So, it's really language. We are adding, establish a budget for consideration by the legislative body of the municipality, inclusion in the municipality's budget. We're specifying that we will hold regular meetings and ensure compliance with terms of any funding, grants, or requests. And then additionally, that we may appoint a director for the efficient conduct and administration of the library. Those are the substantive changes.
So are all of those changes going into the first paragraph, or are they getting distributed through the
No,
document in different
I'm
spots?
putting them all in well, my suggestion is to just put them in the first paragraph, to substitute for the paragraph that we have. Obviously, the role of the Board of Trustees repeats a lot of those. The reason to have it here is because it's legal.
Right, no, I think it makes sense to have this stuff in the in the first paragraph and to track the actual language of the statute. I guess I didn't get one. I
You don't
got
have-
the statute and I got the bylaws as they currently exist.
don't
I
have-
got your comparison.
I didn't know you weren't gonna be here, or I would have sent you color coded.
Ah, sorry.
So, yeah. I can-
Okay, all right. Never mind then.
You can take it,
I
Trish.
mean,
I got
last
it.
time you, I think, said, okay, because you liked it online while we were talking. And you said, this is fine.
That's fine.
Okay, so.
Thanks,
um,
thanks for laying it out like this, Janice. It's really clear and it looks like there's a lot of work, so it's great. It's really easy to see where everything's coming from and where it's going. Yep.
So there's one other change that we didn't talk about last time. Emily recommended. And I'm not quite sure how we want to do it. We want to add that we are also responsible for determining the compensation for all staff, not just for Emily.
Yeah.
So we can add that. I would suggest as C as a separate line item, determine compensation for all staff, but tag it on to the first. And just say, and determine salary compensation for all staff.
Sorry, you're saying in the first paragraph or in?
In the role of the trustees.
Yeah, right. That's where it makes sense. Yeah.
Right. The first line, it says.
Right.
Determine salary for the director.
Yep.
Do we want to add in there compensation for all staff
Separate.
or do we want to make it a separate line item that just says determine compensation for all staff?
Does that matter at all? Where it happens?
I think one calls it out.
Yeah, it makes
think
it
that's
clear
separate.
that.
That's just visually.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then maybe C is the better
C,
option,
okay.
just
And
because
we'll number those.
it might need to be clear.
That makes sense to people.
Yeah.
You got that?
So how will A read?
Well,
That
it
will
will
be
say hire,
added.
supervise, and evaluate the library director.
And determine, or no, not even say that.
And
Okay.
then C will say determine compensation for all. Does that make sense? Is that good, Emily?
It works. Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that it was in there, and I think that
Yeah.
takes care of it.
Is that clear to you, Trish?
Yeah, am I right that A, it's gonna say hire and supervise and evaluate the library director, period?
Yeah,
And then C, hire, supervise,
no,
Just
or just determine the, oh, sorry, okay, so that's
And then
just,
I'll reletter those two.
yeah.
A up through salary.
Just out of curiosity,
Mhm.
do you hire other staff?
I do. And supervise them. That is not the board's job. Me and Nancy will talk about this. on Friday.
Yes,
The
you
role
can
of the
discover
board.
other things you want to change.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the revised, the revisions to the bylaws
I'll
as
second that.
illustrated.
I'll second that.
Are there any questions or more about that? All in favor? Great. So they're approved as of what's today?
225.
Or amended, I should say.
Pleasant to type.
Good, thanks. Where are we here? Okay, buildings and grounds,
Nothing to report. No.
just snow.
Yeah.
Switched out in that
We have-
part so you can get from this car.
Are you-
Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
they actually did that. We couldn't do that. They did it with the little plow.
Oh, yeah.
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 Are you expecting to make it the rest of the way through the cold weather with whatever oil's in the tank?
We are allowed to have more oil. Karen just reported to me that we had burned through what she had thought we would use, but it's been really cold.
It
Yeah.
has.
I mean, it's like me, us and everybody else, like everybody's
Right.
burning through their wood too. We have a double tank. It was 3/4 full when I looked. We'll see. It's warmer today. We might go over, budget.
Okay, fundraising,
No.
nothing, strategic planning.
So I made this summary. In the interest of not making this the longest meeting ever, I can just send you guys home with this. It just has the priorities and objectives and actions, and I only put in steps where the step was new or different. There's also anything in red is new. And if you guys want to look at this, I know we just have a lot of other stuff under new business to talk about, and we wanted to debrief on the birthday party. So I just didn't, I don't need to buzz through this with you. This is just after creating new steps with creating new actions with the strategic planning group, and then creating new steps from those, or looking at the previous actions with the staff. The only thing I have to add to this is there was the suggestion that we do a board retreat and that we talk about why we're fundraising. And I feel like that does belong in the strategic plan instead of the institutional long range plan. So I could add that in here as well in the fundraising step.
Would you add that in as the thought that we would plan an annual board retreat in order to discuss,
I think it might
or that like this is just like for this
well, we did
year, and
retreat
then-
last year, and I feel like that was really helpful. We did it after bringing on a new board member. So maybe this is something that we could do either in addition to or in lieu of our, probably it's not going to be in lieu of our March meeting, but maybe we could do in April if we can secure a space for it. I know we talked, board retreat is under new business, but I will add it to this, especially because I think part of the discussion will be the intent with which we're fundraising.
I like the idea
Is that a year?
of having
Yeah,
an
annual. I could add that in.
Different, whatever topic.
right, like
needs to
whatever
be-
needs more.
Is
And
the-
Janice said she would come even though it's gonna be in April.
If you want me to, I'm sure.
Okay.
Retreat annual all right, into strategic plan.
Is the intention, Emily, that we will come back to this at our next board meeting to approve or amend or whatever we call it?
Do you guys approve what every time we make new actions?
No.
No.
No. Okay. No.
So
You
this
guys-
is FYI.
This is FYI. Here's the new stuff. We created it as
Get working.
as
That's
the-
what she's saying.
as
Get
the-
to work then.
it's more like, no, the strategic planning committee came up with with a lot of these ideas. And it's not that I want to say, no, we're not going to look at it again. I could read through all of these. It's 4 pages.
Right.
I guess, I mean, I haven't looked super closely at it.
No.
Is it color coded in terms of what the board responsibilities are versus
No.
yours?
No.
So I think 3 and 4, the priorities 3 and 4 are really like
board-
the
board
board
stuff.
oriented
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like the next step that I'm seeing is that the strategic planning committee meets, in the next couple of months to discuss what the board responsibilities are on this
Or
to start making headway.
Yeah, or meets before the retreat and then tells everybody at the retreat what we're gonna do, what we're gonna, or what they're gonna
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Okay.
However, but I think that's kind of like the what do we do with this?
Yeah, that's the next thing.
that I
Because
see.
a lot of the other things, the other actions and steps are things like the staff is gonna explore certain kinds of programming, and software to acquire. And one of the big actions is creating a new website, which people felt strongly about. Some of these were already underway, like host a Vermont Reads book group with the therapy dog Virgil. It's already on the schedule.
Right.
Virgil's booked.
I'd still like to be part of exploring programming at Putney Meadows. I know I've talked about it. We've
Yeah,
done nothing about it.
maybe if you
Some people do
if you want to continue, if you did want to do that as your
it. Community service.
emeritus
Okay.
board chair, that would be great.
Okay.
Emily, not to throw a wrench in the works.
No.
Under priority 4, do you think the emergency plan is better placed in this, or is it better placed in the institutional learning?
What a good. I don't know that it's so staff focused as priority 4 is. The emergency plan, I feel like it's more about the building and something that's kind of it's shared with the board, but I don't feel like it's a safety for the staff thing so much as it is like a full board thing. It could also include things like wet collections disaster or like
Okay,
severe weather
okay.
events and things like that. So it's more like I think it's more
But we're not
University.
on the center.
not officially, no.
Right.
Well, we signed ourselves up for cooling. I mean, Tom has definitely gotten in touch and been like, can people stay there, during weather events? And because of our limited kitchen situation and bathroom, we don't have showers, that kind of thing. We're not super desirable to be a warming center in that way. A warming center is kind of an overnight thing. And I think that they mainly think of the school for it. But no, we're not officially, but we could certainly be pressed into that service. And it's been explored recently in other weather events a couple of years ago.
Are there any more questions about Emily?
I know I didn't give you guys a
So
lot of time.
Strategic planning committee will figure out a time to get together for the retreat. Is that what I was saying? And
And you're gonna add language about the retreat and.
Yeah, I am. Meetings. I'm ready to schedule the strategic plan meeting.
okay. I don't have anything to report in the town library relationship. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. Garden committee is dormant right now.
It's under a lot of snow.
I guess anything else. Fair compensation.
I'm afraid that I didn't hire Penny to be my accountability partner. So I have a summary right now of the policy, but I will have that soon.
Well, Emily
Sorry,
was
guys.
just weeks ago that I remind you and other things are in my mind.
It's okay.
Remember this morning.
You shouldn't need to babysit me. I
And when
have it on my
Yeah.
table.
I
It's
think
just a
it's
very
good
full
to-
table.
when you do this, you don't even have to do like a puppet show or anything. You can just give it to me and then I'll just have it. We could just say Ben did it. That's
Great.
No puppets.
Record. We're tabling that.
Okay.
All right, now the fun stuff. Anniversary committee debrief on the birthday party.
Did you say I am?
Anybody?
Am I?
She said, I think she said anniversary committee, but it might have sounded like Amber. Amber.
Like Amber's
Sorry,
gonna debrief my name.
Anniversary.
I'm into it.
I heard that. too.
Okay, that's.
I love how we keep like it was a birthday party and keep like it's the anniversary party.
That's
Right,
insane.
that did not-
I love it. I
Well, it
love
was the
how we just,
anniversary
like,
committee.
are sticking to it.
It's true. We were calling ourselves the anniversary committee. I mean, I feel like you probably can speak better to this than me because you were really you were manning the head of the ship.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great.
Here, here.
Yeah, it was really
Success.
great. Not only did you think it was great, but a lot of patrons have said they loved it. Like there was a lot of people like just being like, "Oh, that was so fun! Thank you so much for doing that."
Yeah.
And I wanted you guys to hear that because you
It
did all
was
the heavy
amazing
lifting.
considering that there were, I don't think one time, but there were around 300 people here. And it didn't feel chaotic at all.
No.
Yeah.
There was a little crowd around the cake cutting table at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
But, and I want to thank the two people, your daughter
That's right.
and the other person, who was it?
It was
Jessica.
Was it Jessica?
Yeah.
Jessica, who donated their prize winning cakes
Oh.
to supplement what we had gone through. That was really nice. That her cake was delicious.
Mm.
Yeah, thanks so much, Trish, for steering us so well
Yeah.
through this, so that none of us felt like we were burdened with anything and had fun and great job.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. I feel like that was the big takeaway is that I felt like we had a lot of different offerings for that day, but I feel like because so many of us took on those different offerings, it just didn't feel like it was all on one person.
Yep.
Big
And
win.
so it was a nice reminder that, we can throw a function and it doesn't have to be, a big load on any one person. So.
Yep.
And I think it was
Were there
like,
any lessons learned? Anything we wanted?
If the
For
kid
the
that
next,
for books
like-
long enough, Trish will sit there for like an hour and a half.
I can't say no.
Oh, we heard about that later.
I just kept reading.
The whole time.
I guess my question is lessons learned for what? Like if we're looking at a 40-year anniversary, that's like
Well-
a long, I don't know, would have to put it in the time capsule in order.
I'm thinking more like just in general on having a big event.
Well, I think that one of the lessons learned is that we can throw a pretty big event, like you were saying, with 300 people in attendance over the course of a couple hours.
They
And
make
that,
money.
and that it's not, that it wasn't onerous to do so. Um, how was cleanup? Like over
We're
the,
out of here in half an hour.
Pretty swift.
It was pretty swift, and then the library was cleaned like it always is cleaned by the
oh, that's right, I
cleaner
remember,
at the
yeah.
end, like,
Right.
yeah, so we didn't do the vacuuming and things like
Right,
that.
we didn't have to
Yeah.
get the cake out of the carpet kind of
No.
thing.
That was the only thing I was worried about.
Yeah.
I think the only disaster was
Mostly out.
my spilling water, the water that we were using to, clean our knife. I knocked it onto the table. But several people rescue us.
Mm,
The cider and the carpet in the kids' room, but
yeah.
Oh.
Inevitable.
yes, completely.
Another thing that strikes me is that we had planned for outdoor
Yeah.
parts of the activity, but it was so cold that day that everybody was inside,
But
and that
people
went
really-
it was fine.
People really did the snow painting. You guys were refilling those bottles again.
Yeah.
Oh, there was like a stretch of time where like it felt like we were just like
Yeah.
passing each
Yeah,
other
right.
fill those colored bottles constantly.
Right.
It feels nice to host a community event in the winter.
Yeah,
It does.
that's true.
I can say, would it be good to do an annually?
A birthday party every
I
year.
mean, maybe not a birthday, but it was nice,
Some
like
kind of
a,
celebration.
like a random Sunday. when
Did
it's
you
cold
guys-
and people have a place
Did
to
you
go.
guys know that the one of the strategic plan things was to hold on? It's like schedule a seasonal event.
Yeah, I saw that.
Board presented seasonal programs out.
Shortest night?
Yeah, the shortest day celebration.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
so, I mean, they're not specifically outdoors. Oh, no, it does say outdoors,
Mhm.
but it does feel good to do a big thing in the winter.
Yeah.
I think on a Sunday afternoon was a perfect time.
Yeah.
For the Super Bowl.
Let's keep that in mind.
Yep.
As we retreat and come up with things that we want to do.
I
Next-
think the only other, sorry, another reflection I had is like having the face painter, I think was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She was
We're-
so
It
good.
was so good.
I guess my suggestion would maybe be that if we were to do something like that again, where we're hiring someone and it's like really popular,
Mhm.
to like have it go until the end.
Okay.
So either she starts later, you know,
Okay.
and does the full 2 hour, the until the end time, because it's like we had to turn people away.
Oh, okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So if we don't want to pay, if it's a 3 hour event and we don't want to pay for the full 3 hours, having it be the last 2 hours
Yeah.
instead of like the
Got
middle
it.
2 hours.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
good to think
Idea.
about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My only other thing, and it didn't end up being a problem, was that we should have had a snow day, like a snow date. But
Oh,
it didn't
yeah.
end up, it did snow and we
Right.
still did it.
Yep.
It was fine.
Fine. Yeah, I don't know if we could have done more publicity.
We
People
had
need to know
300
about it.
people.
I
It was great.
No more publicity.
No, I think it was really good. I had no complaints about not.
I didn't, I really was, I don't know what the word is, touched, impressed, whatever that Mike would be.
Yeah.
He drives me crazy many times, but if you, that was on his initiative to, have that beautiful proclamation.
Yeah.
For us, and that was made it to the paper today. And what are we gonna do with that?
We can get it
Get it framed.
Yeah, I want
And put it up somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure where
That was
this.
pretty special.
Mhm.
Did the time capsule go up yet?
No, we're still collecting input. I think it was too festive.
Yeah.
What we learned is that it was like people weren't introspective in a time capsule kind of way.
Yeah, right.
But we've set up a station on this table, and people have been sitting down and putting
Oh,
time capsule
lovely.
things. So I'm gonna
Great.
leave that up for at least another week.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was hoping to print out in a size that would fit in the box some of the pictures that were taken, and
That's
people sent in some pictures, and I have some pictures that just give a sense of what it looked like that day. And then I was just thinking of anything else that we could put in there that was
Ben's speech.
like a piece of paper
Yeah.
that is sort of representative of things that are happening. For example, it was part of the one of the director's reports. There was a thing about what the most circulated items in the library were.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Some things like that just would be interesting to people in some period of time in the future to look at.
Yeah,
I wonder, is
So
there?
I'm trying to gather that stuff, and I've gotten set back in various ways, but I haven't forgot about it.
don't worry, it's gonna take, I'm gonna have to wait till the electrician comes to do something else to get him to put the time capsule up in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
up in the eaves, but so you've got some time still. And I want a printout of Ben's speech to
Yes.
put in it too. Okay.
Yep.
I wonder too if like I know a lot of times when things are just sort of like sitting out in the library, it just like people come in here and like they've got like their agenda, like I'm reading this, and this. And I wonder if there could be an invitation that goes out one week in like the newsletter, like where that this is happening and it is in the newsletter.
Yeah, it's
right
been
now?
in the newsletter. And then it kind of becomes invisible in the newsletter. But I don't remember if I've also posted it on Facebook, but I will do that before I, just like another
Box.
yeah, it's fine. And the paper is rice paper, it's pretty thin, mulberry paper, and I'll put it in an envelope within that. And then when we bring it down for the 25th birthday party, there'll be another envelope that
Would it be
can be added.
appropriate to put the just, I don't know if there's a way to scrunch down the proclamation to put it in there?
Can't we just print out what, did he change it from what you wrote?
Yes, they did a fabulous job.
Okay,
Yes, I just sent him thoughts.
okay.
Mhm.
It would be nice to print out the text from it, but no,
Yes,
the proclamation is like a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's.
Hear
it's-
ye.
Yeah. They did a great job with what I sent. Yeah.
that's great.
I guess I'll just add that as we've sort of like dabbled in talking a little bit about when Kevin had asked the question several months ago of like, why are we fundraising, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this idea of a capital campaign for an addition and like whether we would want to do that for our 25th. And I just feel like this party, for me at least, was like, holy crap, like our community loves us so much,
Yeah.
loves the library so much. I can really see there being a support for something like that in our community.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amber said you guys were talking about that as we were packing up and leaving.
I think I might have
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
then.
but no, I
A blur, but I'm sure.
So much cake.
no, no, but
I am checking.
I agree.
To the cake baker.
Yay.
Fabulous, Penny.
No, everyone talked about it. Yes.
So yeah, just something just to mull over. I
No,
think.
that's great.
Yeah.
I like that takeaway.
Okay,
Shall we?
let's see. Oh, finally, approved purchase of new patron computers. Are you ready to do that?
I am. Can I have $5,000 from the
From the
trustees?
capital campaign.
No, no, those are not a capital.
Reserve fund, wait.
No, from the trustees fundraising, to purchase upgraded patron computers for that area over there.
You can do all 6?
We're gonna do 5. Five, yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again? You're asking for $5,000.
For new patron
Would somebody
computers.
like to make a motion?
So moved. Do I have to?
Yes.
All right. Well,
We're being recorded.
so then, so I would move that the Board of Trustees allocate $5,000 for the purpose of purchasing new patron computers for the alcove.
Yes. And
Any
I'm
questions?
just gonna mention, nobody asked, but this also includes the cost for Europa IT to set them up and put all the software on them, so I don't have to do it, which is amazing.
Oh,
It
good.
costs $200.
Take that off.
No, I can usually do it. It'll be done in partnership. I'm sure I'll end up spending some time on it, but for $200 a computer,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think.
So is there going to be new software too? Is it a
Yeah, that's included.
operating system and so on?
It will, then they'll all have an Windows 11, and they'll all have Microsoft Office, like the present ones do.
And the new monitors as well?
No, they're
Not
fine.
new monitors.
No, no need.
When do you expect this to happen?
Once you guys say it's okay, then I'll tell them,
Okay.
and then I'll see when they can do it.
All in favor? I,
Who seconded that?
Penny or I. Equal.
It was a tie.
Is it,
Photo.
is it gonna be the same number of computers?
There'll still be 5.
Five,
There's actually only 5 over there.
right, because there's only 2 on one.
Yeah.
I took a picture of those old ones, which we can put into the
Time capsule.
time capsule. I also took a picture of the copy machine to put in the time capsule.
There you go.
Thinking a photo of like the bank of teenagers that are there, like
Yeah, yeah.
after school
Right,
hours.
yes.
Good idea.
They'll be psyched for new computers.
Yeah, totally, they will. Um, Thanks, guys. Board retreat, we kind of talked about it. It sounds like people are into it. Board retreat
This would be
in
in
April?
April.
on a Saturday or Sunday.
And it would be all day or 3 or 4 hours, or what would it be?
What did we do last
I
time?
feel like we did like around 5 hours last
We did it-
was
we
it?
started
Like we
at
did
lunch, I
lunch.
think.
I thought it was 11 to
Kevin came,
3 at the most.
Maybe it was only
Yeah, it
4
was-
hours.
11 to 3. 'Cause
Okay.
I was at work and came from work.
Okay.
so-
I think we felt like we have this we have this question that Kevin put on the table a while back that we haven't really unpacked as a board of trustees, which is why we fundraise. And we did call that one meeting for it, and it ended up shifting to the fair compensation and really
Oh,
just
right.
feeling
Yeah.
like that was the priority to address. And
Yep.
it feels like a big enough question that it's not something we're going to solve at one of these
Yeah.
meetings on a Tuesday night once a month. And
Right.
maybe we need an expansive
Yeah,
day where we can just chew on that question.
yeah.
When are you going to be through with your course, Emily?
In July, and that'll mean we have a fundraising plan. But what would be great for the fundraising plan
Is it purpose?
is a hey, yeah, and I'll talk about it in a moment that I need a fundraising and development committee. It's part of the class, is that you guys have to get to go to class with me, or you don't, but you get to be part of the fundraising and development plan.
Mhm.
So I think the retreat would be in April, would be well timed, and I can doodle us all for a Saturday in April.
Sounds good.
And we're going to check with Ruby about just using
Yeah.
Putney Community Care.
Ideally, yeah.
Sounds great.
good, that'll be good to do.
There's usually food.
Oh, no, there
And
will be food.
will-
That'll be another discussion.
Will it fall on the fundraising committee to be developing a plan for that day?
I think we'll talk more about the form of the day. Maybe you and I can talk.
Okay.
I'm
If-
not, I don't know yet.
If the strategic plan group is getting together
Yeah,
before then, that might be another good venue.
yeah. This strategic plan. Usually I also do a little bit of a statistics
Right.
dog and pony show PowerPoint thing, but I can make it snappy. I feel like Library Facts for Trustees has kept you all a little more in that loop, so you're not being stunned by how many people come into
That's
the
right.
library every month, once a year at the retreat, and instead you're regularly getting smaller shocks of statistics. But no, I think we'd have to just decide like what it contains. The strategic planning committee, I think could certainly be part of that, and maybe the fundraising and development committee that we have yet to form, but I'm alluding to.
Will this be in place at the April meeting?
I don't know.
My question is about.
Trish says no. Oh, I thought you were shaking your head.
Right, like
I
is
was
a
moving.
retreat.
I was like, we can't not have a meeting.
Yeah,
Right?
You can
Yeah,
have a-
it's hard not to.
If you have a meeting, you're gonna have to record it. I believe.
that's a retreat.
That's what I'm saying. Is it in place at the meeting?
No,
saying no, it's
It's
not.
not,
No.
okay.
Yeah. The retreat
Yeah,
is
I think the
separate.
retreat doesn't have to be recorded. We don't
Yeah.
have to invite the public.
So we will start talking about a date for that at the next meeting, or how are we going to set it?
I think I'm going to try to do a doodle poll sooner than that, so we can all get it on our calendars. You're a busy bunch. All right.
Town meeting prep. So, I will be there. As will Emily, Ben.
I'll be there until about 1:30.
Are you gonna be there, Jen?
Yes.
Good. I'm just, Kevin, I'm coming down.
What's the
Before-
date?
March
Tuesday.
4th.
It's coming Tuesday.
In the middle of the damn day.
Maybe?
10 o'clock.
Probably not. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm getting grades out next week and
right. So, I was just, if
think
I
you might
did
be allowed to
nothing,
hold it
if
at
I
town
not have to
meetings.
say a word, about the budget or anything, but I'd like to be prepared. Are you, Jim and Ben, you prepared to speak on our behalf? And if you are, then I think, it'd be helpful to kind of coordinate what we want to say.
Mm.
We don't have to do it now. I'll be away from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be back Monday lunchtime. So I could meet Monday afternoon, or I could meet Wednesday or Thursday by Zoom, or if we could do it by email, whatever would work. I just want to feel like we have some structure, what are the points that we need to make?
Yeah. Wednesday is one of the days, like a Wednesday morning.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Well,
It's tomorrow.
I have this problem with, and it's probably also the 26th, and those are three
is.
separate things in my brain. So. But is that the time that you would?
Well, Jim is incapacitated, so like
Oh, right.
only available through
Could-
Zoom.
Via Zoom.
Do it that way.
Well, we could just agree to meet on Zoom and chat about that.
You thinking, Jim?
That's fine with me. I don't think this is going to take more than 10 minutes
Oh,
to talk over, so it shouldn't be a big part of our day. I guess I could set up a Zoom. Carolyn could show me how to set up a Zoom here so I could originate it. Or we could meet outside somewhere because I can converse with people outside.
hold out there.
Don't do that.
I can
Well,
I can send out the Zoom invites. What time? 11 a.m. work for folks? I might not have my computer first thing in the morning, so it's going into the shop. But I
Okay,
should have it back.
11.
11? Okay.
11 tomorrow.
Invite Jim, Janice, anybody else?
I don't feel comfortable standing up and talking at town meeting, but I have been talking with Emily about creating like some kind of interactive thing at the library table. Just
Cool.
generate, like, bring it to the forefront to people's brains, like how amazing the library is. And, plant the seed of how much we deserve every ounce of support that we
Terry's ready to jump up.
Is it helpful for me or others to come to town meeting as a library board member? I mean, I'm
Sure,
happy to
always.
come.
Have you been to a town meeting yet?
Really briefly when I was not a resident, I had to sit in the cheap
Yeah, in
seat.
this, yeah. So you'll get to go into the
The
velvet
inner
rope
sanctum.
dinner
Yeah, I know.
Get a little blue smudge on your hand.
Well, and you can vote, which is
Okay.
also great.
ayes and nays and.
Yeah, Anne's ready to say there would be no conservation commission without the Putney Library.
Aw.
To be clear, I'm prepared to speak about things like people are like, what's digital content or whatever, those kinds of questions. I think that the board member is preparing to potentially speak to the increase in the salaries.
Conversations.
Yeah, and staff compensation is really the key part for
Yeah.
the group that's meeting tomorrow morning.
That's where the bulk of the question
Right.
could be.
Right.
Could be,
Yep.
yeah,
And I did outline a lot of that when I spoke to the select board.
sure. You guys are
Yeah.
you kind of have your stuff prepared, but you could
Do
review.
you know what time during the meeting the library will come up?
We're part
Well-
of the general fund budget, so it's kind of could come up anytime in the,
Depending on
That-
how much
Yeah.
they get stuck on the,
like a fire truck or whatever.
what do
Yeah.
you call it, reserve funds.
It's shorter now that it's not school budget
I know.
and
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 11.
Yep.
And you're gonna set it up.
I will send you an invite. You should get it in your email sometime tonight.
Impact of government layoffs and library funding. Did you have something you want to share about?
Yeah,
that? 'Cause people have been
Well,
concerned.
Penny had written about it, and a lot of other people have just asked me about it casually. It's not so much government layoffs as like government funding stuff. I already during when Karen was present at the meeting, I mentioned that it's uncertain what's going on with the big capital improvements money that the Vermont Department of Libraries was meting out. It's federal funding. They've taken down the website. It actually it's kind of ominous. It just says access denied when I try to go to the website that used to have information about that grant, and that's Vermont Department of Libraries. I want to be clear that nobody from the Vermont Department of Libraries has mentioned any funding going away. We do not receive any direct federal funding at Putney Library. We're funded entirely by the by taxes, which we've talked a lot about tonight, by your fundraising, by miscellaneous other little grants. We're the subrecipient of several regular grants through the Department of Libraries that are federally funded, and they are the Summer Reading Performers Grant, which is about $300 annually, and the Courier Grant, which is between $500 and $600 annually. If they're using other federal money to subsidize services for us, that might be the case, but I'm not aware of it. Those are the two biggies, and then they met out these grants. So the biggest impactful thing that could potentially go away is the big capital improvements money, which we never had any assurance of anyway. It was a grant that I was going to apply for. When I addressed the question that Penny asked me, my real concern isn't in this like direct suspension of federal funding for us, but rather the long tail of what it's going to mean for our community and people being able to pay their taxes. So if Medicare or Medicaid, food stamps, home heating assistance, things like that, start sapping people's resources and they're unable to pay property taxes, this is like more of a like I said, a long tail of several years down the line. That's the kind of thing I'm more worried about for our community, not so much an immediate thing where something gets cut off. But I am beginning to operate as if this grant might not exist. So I'm excited that Karen wants to put those $25,000 into capital improvements, because
Should that be mentioned if that comes up at town meeting, if it's challenged? If there's no longer money from the.
Well,
that might just muddy the waters. I feel like it's going to be more.
For a meeting that I had on Saturday, several people mentioned, both the select board said something about who knows now what's going to happen.
Right.
But there were other people in the audience who mentioned something like that, the impact of the tariffs will be on whatever, building a bridge or, the other construction projects that I think it was under the more money, the 438,000 one.
Right.
And keeping in mind that there may not be federal matching grants or anything like that in the future.
I think we'll have to stay attuned to what people say about it at town meeting. I don't think that I would mention that the library's capital improvements needs, or government funding versus this. I feel like we'll just have to pay attention and answer whatever question we can the best, that we can. But I don't think that being ready to say like, oh, this federal funding might have gone away is really a compelling argument for why the library should get to keep its money.
We were already asking for the money before any of this.
Yeah. That's just my view of it. But I just wanted to address this as I understand it right now, which is that nobody has said anything. And those are the three things that I know about that might be impacted.
Yeah.
Should all federal funding be yanked from libraries in Vermont?
I was also wondering, do we get state funding, and is that given by the federal government to states? Because that could also stop.
That's a really good question. And if we do not receive state funding here at the library. All of those resources are meted out through the Department of Libraries and their programs. So they're continuing education for librarians, which we do take advantage of. The consultants that we're able to call and, have advise us on different matters. It's really hard to say. I'm less aware of what funding funds which programs that they give us, but there's no direct state funding that we receive.
Okay.
It's all local.
That's good. Okay.
It's good, except for the other thing I said about it's more complicated, but it's not like, oh, well, we have to suspend interlibrary loan because that was funded through the IMLS funding.
So what are our three programs?
It's here I highlighted things. It's the Summer Reading Performer Grant, the Courier Grant, and the Capital Improvements Money Grant that wasn't open for applications yet. I don't know if I have an answer, but does anyone have any questions?
Lots of questions, but probably not for just this.
Yeah, yeah.
Not you
No,
necessarily.
no, I have questions too. And I really wish the Department of Libraries would tell us something.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know. I even wish they would just tell us, we don't know. Or
Yep.
like, and I don't even know that they know when they will know. So,
Yep.
They don't know.
no. But there's two more things on the agenda that I added at the beginning that I want to make sure we do. And I want to just be mindful of the
Okay.
time.
You want to talk about your
Um,
fundraising thing?
Yeah, I'm in the fundraising and development class, and the point of the class is to create a fundraising and development plan, and we need to have a committee. And I wondered if anybody on the board might be interested in being on the committee.
I'm not going to be on the board.
I know.
would volunteer, but
You'd actually do not have to be a board member, but no,
Different than the fundraising committee?
it kind of
You feel
is.
like it's.
It's-
that's,
It's maybe a subcommittee of the fundraising committee. It's kind of just to create this plan, and I can't even say I fully can predict what the time commitment will be, but it'll be done by July.
you know what the role will involve?
I think it's kind of meeting and talking
Well,
through.
meeting's great.
You guys love meeting.
Meeting with you.
Honestly, I feel like I need to tuck into it a little bit more with the class. I think we're going to talk about it a lot more at this upcoming class, which is coming up in 2 weeks. But so nobody has to, I should describe the role more. And I don't really have that all hashed out yet because we're still learning about what it's going to be. Great question.
So this is a requirement of the class that you're
Wow.
forming a committee with your
Yeah.
board and then developing a fundraising plan, which I'd imagine will be informed by our retreat. where
Yes,
we're gonna talk
exactly.
about Fundraising
So
as well.
It'll probably, I'm okay with it taking shape after the retreat.
How many people do you need?
I probably only need 2 people
Mhm.
in addition to me.
I can probably be one of them. I'm not, and this is outside of my comfort zone, but like, that's probably good.
That's
I'll
great.
learn something.
I keep getting almost there, and then Candace gave me a calendar this year for Christmas, and February just says no.
No,
it's a
nothing.
complete sentence. I keep having this
That's
vision.
great. But it won't be in February's almost over, so it's great. I'll just ask you in 3
Well,
days.
the whole calendar has that same thing.
Oh, got
It's just
it.
different ways of saying it, but I could probably, if it's not like totally
It probably won't be onerous. I'm doing all the writing. I just need you guys to,
nod.
or no, ground me in reality.
What's the little in sports when they have the like little water bottle with the squirty thing? so like you're getting ready to go back into the ring.
All right. Thank you
Yep.
guys. I will shake you down with more information later. I'm sorry I know so little
Awesome.
about this already. And then the last thing I want to say, I'm not even asking you guys for anything yet. But right now, the Music and Movement Program was funded by a Winnie Bell Learned grant that gave us $25,000 last year, and it paid for all 4 Saturdays in July of the Stuart and Sarah Fuchs Music and Movement class, which has been a smashing success. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. And then from then on, every other week. I think they took August off, and then we did every other week through the rest of the year. And it's been really, really popular. And there are people that come to that don't come to anything else. And it is always, it's 0 to 5, ages 0 to 5, and caregivers, plus sometimes other people who just are
Happen to be there.
happen to be there or come by. We have a friend of theirs who's a senior who comes in and sings and dances with the kids every single Saturday. But it's a really big hit. The attendance numbers are really good. We're hoping to get the Winnie Bell Learned grant again, but we're trying to make a commitment with them now for the next fiscal year. And I'm just telling you, or I'm going to ask you, if we do not secure grant funding, if you will contribute $2,500 of fundraising money to keep this program going, because it's part of our strategic
I
plan.
thought it was 25,000, you said.
Didn't you say 25,000?
I'm sorry.
5,000.
Guys, it's after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's 2,500.
Okay, that's
Clearly
good.
in the wrong arts profession.
I was like, I gotta get into music and movement. what I was thinking.
They get paid $1,000 every single.
Forget theater, man.
Sorry, guys, I misspoke. This is the last thing on the agenda.
Do you want to go on this now?
No,
Oh, all right.
I don't. I'm just telling you guys that
Okay.
I just want,
Is that strategic? So we could like.
yes, and you're like, oh, this is so much better. No problem, whatever you want. No, we're negotiating with it or we're not negotiating. We're just trying to get a commitment with them now. And we have 2 potential grant funders for it. And I just wanted to see if the board was in support of it, so that if we didn't get grant funding, you would fund it next fiscal year.
I'm getting a good vibe about it.
It's really good and anyone should come. So you are all welcome to sing and dance. Huh?
And it's a board game.
Yeah. In comparison to what I told you, yes.
Is there any other business? Public comments?
Does the public show up often?
No.
Never.
Eva came once, and did she come? No.
Janice, you should come every time.
Yeah, please. Because you just like, you miss us.
Yeah, I
No.
feel like I can only remember a couple of
What's her name?
times. Sue
Laura-
Copley
Laura
came
Campbell
once.
came, yeah.
After she moved back here, I feel like she came because she was just feeling out like what I think the way she phrased it was she was feeling out where she wanted to put her like
Oh.
energy in the
Laura
town.
Campbell came.
Yeah.
So we now have to go into executive session, vote on the so you can. Yes, you can go.
It was nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Nancy. I hope you wrote down everything you had questions about so we can talk on Friday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, oh, good. All right, thanks so much.
You
Nancy.
forget I said.
Thanks, Nancy.
I can give you the thing right now. If you don't.
Have it handy, but if
Well,
not.
They didn't bring.
What do I say? No, someone's gonna have a call to go into executive session.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have a call to go
Right.
into executive session and then I have to pause the
Yes.
recording.
Right, okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session to vote on our nominee.
All right, I'm pausing the recording. And then I'm gonna remember, oh,
We vote.
now you vote.
Now.
Now vote
Now
again.
we vote.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Nancy put, for the open position on our board beginning in March 2025.
I'll second it.
Ben seconds, all in favor?
Hi.
Unanimous. Great. Nancy's accepted. Motion passes. Welcome to our board.
Yay.
And there's no, I think that's everything.
I think so.
Confirming the date for the next board meeting is March 15th.
I will not be there.
Okay.
No,
we go.
no, I wish, no, but out west, it's
all right.
probably raining and cold.
Well, like a motion to-
A little.
It's 8:20.
I know it
Sorry,
is
took me
late.
So long to put a lot covered.
Yeah.
We're on record. We
We can be shut off. Recording